Yo, what's going on, everybody? AA Ron here.
Repeat.
Welcome back to PanNerdia, and welcome back to our review of HBO's Watchmen. We're on episode 6 now, titled The Extraordinary Being, which is like this shortest title of the whole season so far. But it's about one particular extraordinary being, a big reveal to the longtime Watchmen comic fans here in this episode, as well as just like a ride down nostalgia lane.
The reveal of Hooded Justice.
Oh,
the
that's
true,
right.
real, during
Identity.
World War II-ish, right, beginnings of-ish, Hooded Justice.
Yeah, well, the origins of Hooded Justice, who the identity of Hooded Justice really is, not the strong man, the circus strong man like they thought it was, and even hinted as to, or said who that was in that whole conspiracy in the Minutemen show they have running in the background of this series. But very interesting, like we said, especially for a revelation for the longtime fans. But let's just get into it and kind of let you guys know the origin of Hooded Justice. You guys know last episode it ended with Angela, downing those nostalgia pills of her grandfather's, pretty much all of them, if not all of them, to the point where it's a lethal dosage, according to Lori. And we pretty much start off with, her in prison, imprisoned while getting ready to go on this trip. But to kind of get to that transition, they do start with a showing of the Minutemen TV show that's on. That's how the show actually opens up this week, and shows more about Hooded Justice getting interrogated actually by some wise guys down at the precinct.
Yeah, we're gonna tell everyone what your nightlife is really all about if you don't.
Right.
Let us take a picture of your face.
Exactly, and they took it off the hood, and there was this white guy, and he ended up beating the crap out of him still, and all this, blah, blah, blah. Well, then we ended up getting the transition to, the cops watching at the station and the whole Angela thing. But, man, like we said, she took a lethal dose of that nostalgia. So she's already starting to go into Lila and, like, heavy tripping, man. She's took some nice acid there.
You're supposed to take those one at a time as an elderly person to sort of help you with dementia and things like that.
Yeah, and your own memories of that.
Can you imagine all in one shot? So they're definitely overlapping in this episode, which is mainly about Angela's trip.
And what's crazy is, she's taking pills of memories of somebody who's lived over 100 years. So that's awesome.
I mean, she's living her grandfather's life, so she's seeing, like, the beginnings of her, her father, I guess, is it her father's father?
Yeah, it's her father's father, yeah.
Right. So she's seeing exactly, like, the timeline, and then on top of it, if he's got a memory within a memory, she's actually seeing that too because she took all the pills.
Like, say if she's having a memory of Will's 20-something-year-old self having a memory of something he had when he was younger. So that's how she kind of links
like
stuff.
When Will was talking to his wife in this flashback.
June.
And about, like, remember when you first saw me and all that?
Yeah.
So it was revealed that she was the baby.
She was the baby.
That he found when he was a boy during the Tulsa riots and all that. So that's really another reveal out of a ton more reveals about his life.
It helped connect a lot of dots, and it was just cool they interwoven those memories together.
Even when she's like, remember the movie that you watched over and over as a boy?
Oh, yeah.
So then that memory was projected on the wall. So as Angela's having this memory of her grandfather talking to his wife at a young age, like newlywed age,
right?
She's never seen that film. But then there it is as well. So
yes.
That's kind of the positive part of this bad trip on nostalgia pill is that they're overlapping quite well because she's kind of seen all the dots connect more rapidly.
Right. It's not so bunched up where she can't get a hold of it. At least she can kind of start dividing it and feel like, oh, these are memories within memories, not necessarily dual memories clashing. It's a memory connected to another memory based on a certain situation.
It is overload, though.
To a degree, but it's a straightforward episode for the most part. Well, she starts tripping. There's a recurring person with playing a piano the whole time, which might end up actually being June, I think, playing that piano the whole time while all this is going down. But it kind of just comes in dramatic moments, so it kind of adds that tone. But piano starts playing, goes into 1938 NYC. Will's becoming a cop. He's getting, his badge, be a rookie cop. One of the fellow officers, or I guess one of the higher ups, he ends up actually giving Will the badge.
He's the only other black officer
Yep.
in the whole.
Like at least on stage, we might have
Precinct,
we saw somebody like out in the stands or in the audience, but either way, the guy gives it to him. He whispers to him, "Beware of the Cyclops," and
I
lets
think
him
the
know
guy in the
about it.
stands was that guy. Because
Oh, it might have been, and then he got up.
Right.
Oh, okay, so that's probably what it was. Okay, then, yeah, because
Yep,
the camera
beware
moved.
of the Cyclops, and boy, oh boy, was that revealed in this revealing episode.
Yeah, so the Cyclops is really connected, and we immediately thought like Cyclops, like the squid. Well, this is so
Right.
or too early for the squid, but maybe it connects. But it might still to a degree, but it connects to something else that we've kind of been witnessing this show.
A bad symbol now.
A bad symbol, yeah. So essentially, we kind of get some flashes at Will's time being a cop, and how he's basically got to deal with corrupt cops, and how some of them are ultimately racist. And it starts with Will seeing a man throwing essentially a Molotov cocktail into a Jewish delicatessen and scorching it down, which already is like, damn, somebody's got it out for these Jewish folks, and goes to chase the dude down, and ends up arresting. But the whole time the dude's pretty aloof. The guy is being named Fred, that is, and Fred's actually kind of a racist himself. Actually, not kind of, he totally is. And Will brings him to the precinct, but his cop friends kind of take it like, oh, we got this. But it still kind of seems a little hush-hush, a little rushed, perhaps.
And they threw up the OK sign on their forehead, which kind of like, what was that about?
Yeah, like almost a little gang sign or a secret message, So that's already a little sketchy. And as Will kind of, starts to kind of question it and kind of look around a little bit, snoop around, if you will, he gets pretty much pulled aside by his fellow white cops, the corrupt ones, that is. They not only beat him in an alley, they drag him out to a field, they put a hood over his head, they hang him, but then cut him down right before he dies and tell him that's basically a warning.
Right.
And we immediately started thinking, because he's got a
is this
noose
the
on his
birth
neck.
of Hooded Justice? Because
But we're like, wait,
as Laurie says about all the superheroes of past and present, what's your trauma? Because your trauma is what your mask is hiding and showing at the same time.
Such a beautiful way of connecting at this show. They do a really good job. We immediately thought that.
What about the other connection? Speaking of overlapping memories, as the cops failed on their first try to lure in Will into the car, and he goes, no, I'm just walking home. They said, all right, maybe another time, before they turn around and come and get him again. But as they peel off, the cop squad car is dragging two bodies.
Oh, yeah.
And the bodies are in color, and the blood stains in color, and on this black and white memory. So that was really neat, but also another point of all those pills overlapping. Yeah.
So all his, what's really odd is those memories that are when he was a little kid. I guess those are the most vivid because those are the ones who gave him a lot of trauma.
Sure.
They're in color. So they're mixed in with those black and white scenes, and it's all kind of connecting to his trauma even deeper, right? Our affirmations kind of, our speculation kind of gets affirmed here in just like the next 10-20 minutes that he is in fact Hooded Justice, and this is the birth of. But we were both questioning, like, so Hooded Justice was black, and what's up with this? And I guess, is he gay too? We didn't know, because I guess they talked about that in the old comic, but regardless.
But he finds out so much information from not just the media, but his knowledge inside the department, at the police department, and also just on his own as Hooded Justice, lurking around. Like, he finds out these guys are all Klan members.
Yes.
And they all are kind of based somewhere, and he wants to find this base. But before we even get to that point in the show, he gets this unannounced partner at his door, right?
Well, yeah, he gets basically a recruitment from, and this is assumed like a few years into him being
a cop, like 6 years, I guess.
Cop and also Hooded Justice.
Yeah.
And he gets approached by the Minutemen, and Mr. Metropolis. Mr. Metropolis, yeah, who or Mr. Gardner, Captain Metropolis, that is, who is essentially recruiting him, and basically telling him, you're the one who inspired us, blah blah blah. Turns out that ends up being Hooded Justice's lover on the side.
He recruits him via doggy style.
Yeah, right. And helps him, fight crime for a minute. But then he kind of sees the loose strings that are attaching that whole thing too, and how it's very, like they essentially they have like ads when they're selling themselves to Miniman, that is, when they're saying, oh, we'll stop this crime, we're putting like a press meeting out.
And then
they also throw
sponsor
advertising.
a bank or
Yeah,
sponsor a
right.
business or
Now take a time to look at this bank who's sponsoring us, blah, blah, blah. And he's kind of like, oh man, they're not really out for this. They're out more for the glam or the fame,
for sure.
fame of it,
The glam and a little kick of money on the side too.
Yeah, because they're getting that, right?
And apparently getting something else.
Yeah,
with each
shit.
other.
But as soon as Hood of Justice really needs them to help him bring down Cyclops, which he's finally connected, the eye thing and or the symbol in the forehead and all this, and interestingly enough, old Fred seems to be connected to Cyclops deeper than we thought.
And he's not only connected deeper than we thought, but more of it all makes sense. Like, not only is he racist against black people and against Jews, but he wants to take out competition, because we find out that Fred owns a little grocery, five and dime / grocery store that has a warehouse behind it. And well, obviously that delicatessen he tried to set aflame was competition.
It was just, and was that anything deeper than that?
And it was
but
just
it probably
being
was.
a douche.
Yeah, pretty much. And but they had something.
Douche gotta go.
As Hood of Justice discovers deeper, and he kind of delves into this and ends up kind of taking it under, on his own. Not only is he taking this out on his own, he's not getting help from the people who were meant to help him, his secret lover. And meanwhile, his wife at this point had already had a kid. She had told him she was pregnant while all this was happening.
He's like, damn, I just discovered that I really like gay sex. And
yeah, right.
Pregnant? What?
Or we don't even know if that was like a couple years into him being with,
I think he was kind of happy and then kind of confused how this is going to work when she told him about the pregnancy, because especially back then, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to like procreate no matter what level of society you're on and all this. So that's the normal thing, and this would be a great mustache.
But it's like almost like he doesn't want to. Also, in the same vein, it's weird. It's like he's happy, but he also is like, I don't know if I want him being born to this world where races.
He should have thought of that before putting on the eye makeup every day in front of his son.
Oh, and by the way, he totally.
Kept that on the down
this
low.
Is a genius part, because everybody thought he was this white man under the hood. And instead of, for like,
Yet another reveal of reveals.
Angela wearing like the black paint around her eyes, Hood of Justice puts white skin tone paint around his eyes before he puts on the mask, so people think around the eye holes that he's a white guy, in fact. And that's genius, man.
Total genius. That was one of the largest things we appreciated watching.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Like, that's really
cool.
That's a really good idea. And, as he's finally going off on his own to find what the Cyclops is doing, he tracks down this warehouse to where, because there was this, like, essentially there's this massacre. This is when he's actually an officer. He's, like, during the day, he goes to this massacre in this theater where a bunch of these black people essentially killed each other. This one lady did it or something, who knows, but it's like a massacre in this theater. And he goes in, he asks her what happened, and she's like, I was watching the movie, and then a flash happened, and all of a sudden I was killing people, and
there was a flashing light, there was a voice.
Yeah, and a voice saying
and I was supposed to hurt. I was supposed to hurt. And then I think I did hurt other people.
Right.
But then I was trying to hurt myself until the light stopped flashing.
And then he looks over and sees somebody carrying what seems to be some kind of projector through the exit. So he follows. That's when he tries to get help, and then ends up going on his own, hooded in his cop uniform, breaks into this warehouse, ends up beating the shit out of these guys who are all putting these special projectors together. And ends up finding Fred.
Half of them are the same cops that beat him up in the first place years prior.
Yeah, half of them were. Sees Fred, ends up killing him, because Fred ends up, not even recognizing him, for one. But regardless, he paid
Fred's last words was like, all you... I don't know what the slang was.
Yeah, he used some racist slang and was just basically like...
You all look the same or whatever. That was Fred's last words, right?
Yeah, pretty much,
See you, Fred.
And then he took over everybody inside, and then there was one final dude, pretty much like the number one, grade A douchebag himself, He's the one sitting on the
He's the
radio
voice of
voicing
the brainwashing material.
What do they call it? Mesmerize? Or what was it? Let me see what it is. There's a name for the mesmerism. Using the mesmerism machine. And he ends up killing him. Well, actually, he runs out of bullets and he chokes him with the
wires.
aux cord. Yeah. So that's how that guy dies. That's great. So yeah, Hood of Justice, kicking ass and taking names, man. And such an awesome origin story of how that happened. But so crazy that, during all this, he pretty much just goes on his own. He discovers this. He burns down the place. He takes one projector for himself because this is some wacky technology. But in all this wake and all this justice that he's fighting, I guess he's pretty absent from his family. And
at this point, he's fighting the justice his way by himself, totally solo.
Right.
No help from anyone. And whether his wife found out that he's bisexual or gay or whatever or not.
Yeah, we didn't even get to that part. Yeah.
Fed up with the whole risk.
Yep.
That he is a cop, and he's a cop in this weird
because she knows he's Hood of Justice too,
and she's also this vigilante character, so she wants to go back to Tulsa, and he's like, "No way, am I going back there? That's where everything."
Yeah, he's got so much trauma there
memories,
too.
Right.
Yeah, so they're pretty much like, "Well, we got to go," and they leave him, and he's kind of left alone. But as he's kind of in this, stupor, this depressed stupor, it kind of flashes into Old Will again, almost like Old Will was thinking about those memories, and there's memories and memories. That's where this whole memory and a memory thing happened.
It was fueling the fire before he had Judd hang himself.
Right.
That's basically what happened.
And that was the thing.
See the other reveal.
And that's how that jump happened so smoothly. It was like, oh, why did they jump so far ahead, and why did they skip so many years of his life?
Yeah.
Well, it's because he was thinking about those thoughts.
Yeah.
And those, you know what I'm saying? It's such a cool connection.
The backstory behind Judd's family tree
totally
intertwines with his backstory.
And what thoughts he had right when Judd was pulling up.
Right.
Yeah, and then Judd pops the tires.
Well done.
And, it was very well done. And
then out comes the flashlight.
The flashlight. The same one that he actually shined at Angela when she first pulled up, but he didn't strobe it, I guess. I guess the strobe setting's the one that hypnotized
They should add those in those flashlight infomercials where, like, the burglar comes in, but you put on the strobe instead of just the flashlight. And he's like, oh, it just, they
now
freak
walk out the door.
Yeah, now walk out the door. Wait, leave your wallet behind instead.
Walk 3 blocks down and shoot yourself in the crotch and wait for the cops.
Yeah.
But he basically uses this flashlight that he essentially reconfigured from the technology of those mesmerizer
it makes you
projectors.
Obviously realize that Judd has this family legacy of bigotry and, like, doing the underworld secret stuff. That not only that, but he also has been brainwashed too.
Yeah.
So all it takes is that trigger to go off. Oh, turn on that strobe and that brainwash. Because what I'm trying to say is Will didn't just brainwash Judd in the street just there in his wheelchair and a flashlight. You think he automatically took over him right there with just the flashlight?
I think so, but perhaps you're onto something. Perhaps it made him more susceptible to it.
I think because it would have to have happened to him before at some point in time in his life. And it just sort of latent. It's back there. It's like put on reserve.
Yeah, that could be something along those lines.
Or maybe Will has more powers than just flashlight skills.
Who knows? I mean, he is in contact with Lady True, but he ends up essentially. Now we know how Judd was hung. He hung himself through mesmerism, and so he was hung, and
it was proven that he kept his grandfather's clan and badge
for
stuff.
legacy and pride,
right?
Which connects and kind of solves the issue that he is in that shit himself.
So Judd had to die, and it was a good thing, and now Angela can move on from that piece. But we're probably going to find out in the next episode, like maybe one last piece of that memory, because
it seemed like it showed like some, or at least her memories are coming back now, and like they're flooding in weird because we're seeing like shit from when she was a kid and stuff.
And Agent Blake did try at one point to bring her out of this coma state by having Angela's husband come in and read like his name, the kids' names.
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
What year it is and how Redford's the president and all that. Just try to snap her out of it. And well, that didn't work. But Agent Blake did also mention, earlier on before Angela fully went under, that this drug, isn't around anymore. And Lady True's company is the only one that has any access to how to make them again or whatever.
Well, she now owns the company that made them originally, which is, I guess, Ozymandias made them originally. And Redford ended up outlawing them because people got addicted to it and shit.
Yeah, it wasn't just elderly using it; it was other people using it too.
Yeah, living in the glory days and stuff by taking the pills and getting addicted to it. So Redford outlawed it, and still don't know what tobacco is, but
apparently any sort of stimulant in any form at all is banned, and it makes you wonder this different dimension. What else is different?
Yeah, no shit, right? It's all bizarre, but yeah, it was cool how Lori kind of came back and forth into the picture. They actually gave her adrenaline to wake her up during an awesome scene where it was, the scene they showed where in the Minutemen remake show, where it was like Hooded Justice broke through the deli window, which is, I guess, is Fred's place, breaks through it, and then beats up all the dudes and is like a total badass. Well, he still is a total badass, but he actually goes to the back door, beats everybody up, comes stumbling through the delicatessen, ends up running because Fred is shooting a shotgun at him and busts through the window out into the street. But during that scene, they do it awesome. By the way, all these past memories with Will being in New York City are all in black and white. Anyway, Hooded Justice blasts through the window, and they do a freaking Matrix 360 shot where they freeze Hooded Justice in the middle of glass blasting from the window, all to stop on his face to transition to Angela's eyes, and how that's when Lori is basically trying to wake her up, and that was really cool, and we both appreciated the hell out of that.
Yeah,
like, whoa, man! Not only they're doing it in black and white, they're doing it. I don't know. It was just this episode was tight. It was really fucking cool.
The fact that her face is all covered up and all you see is her eyes and her eyeliner, and then the one tear finally going down because it's such an overload action going on, and her body is taking. She's got to remember, not only is it torturing her mentally, but it's taking a toll on her physical body as well.
Oh, it has to be, yeah, because she's probably we don't get to see what her body's doing as it's sitting there reliving these memories. Yeah, but you can imagine she's probably somebody
mad fast,
way too high on VR, and running into the cell walls and all sorts of weird shit. And yeah, it's bizarre, man, but really well done there, and we appreciated that. A lot of reveals this episode. No Ozymandias besides just mentions.
The preview for next week.
The preview next week looked cool with him in it. He's having a trial with the game warden, but yeah, just again reveals upon reveals. I wonder how the Watchmen community, the real long-term fans of the original 12 issues, what they think about Hooded Justice's identity being revealed.
Is that pill a hard one to swallow, or is it a cool, refreshing new take?
Right.
Or is it what is satisfying for anybody? Why not?
Yeah, I think what's great is it really does all connect, especially into what the future of, where could this story go after, what happened in the first 12 issues? What can you do for a sequel, quote unquote? And as I listened to the podcast with Damon Lindelof in it, and all this other stuff, the guy who created it, you start getting his ideas of how he stumbled across all this shit, and now it all kind of starts connecting because a lot of it really derived around the idea of what's going on nowadays with police officers and race violence and stuff like that, as well as how information is so readily available now, but how a lot of people don't know about the Tulsa riots, for example. A lot of people don't know about that. So him finding out about that and being so astounded, that really led to him to having an idea for this Watchmen series, connecting it to what's happening in the present, and then connecting it to the actual series proper, to characters in the past and what they were about and what really embodied them as characters. And Hooded Justice with the noose, and doing what he was doing and connecting it all back to this series with 7th Cavalry and everything. It's just all such a beautiful circle.
It's kind of a neat episode of showing you kind of the family tree of the villains and the good people and everyone in between, because really where this is leading to is people that read those 12 issues and watched and read up on Watchmen and whatnot, like, they have to see what I'm seeing, and that pattern is they're handing of the over of the torch. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, there is.
Matter of fact, Will is the original Hooded Justice.
Which is awesome.
Does someone else become a second Hooded Justice?
I mean, in my eyes, after hearing that, it's almost like Angela is the essence of the Hooded Justice in modern day form.
There you go.
It's just her own thing, and it's just cool to be like she's the granddaughter of the original vigilante of this universe.
There's a Spectre too with attitude. Might as well have a Hooded Justice too in the form of Sister Knight.
Yeah, and that's really cool, man. And I'm excited to see where it goes because, like we had mentioned, Lady True is actually in connection with this drug, or at least her company probably still makes it or used to make it.
That's what I hope we learn more about next week.
I think we will for sure because, well, she wakes up from this bad trip in Lady True's care, probably in the Millennium Clock. Yeah, not a memory. She's at the Millennium Clock station, and from what the preview shows, it seems like it's gonna get a little more weird next episode, and we're gonna get some more into the Lady True world, and her connection into all this, as well as possibly what the hell's going on with Ozymandias and the trial.
All I know is everything with Lady True seems to like point to one direction, and that's some sort of end time. You know, whether it's like an apocalypse where it's like a new birth, or an Armageddon where it's like coming to a drastic end or whatever, you know. I might have said that vice versa, but
no, yeah, I do understand. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's something happening because remember Will, when he was standing up, said something about 3 days, as well as Lady True in the preview saying that she picked this location because it's the best location to save the world. And she was in the preview, she said something about saving the world, so... In her mind...
So is it a new doomsday clock, or is it called a bloomsday clock? Because there's going to be a change that's going to bloom, and that's where it's sprouting from, that location.
I mean, who knows, man? Yeah, it's in a central location, and again, she did take over Ozymandias' companies, or Adrian Veidt. Maybe she knows more about his ultimate plan, too.
Technology, all kinds of science.
Well, again, remember, I think she knows, just like the 7th Cavalry knows, what the truth is about what happened in November, what was it, 2nd, 1985? Or 2nd or 20th. She knows what happened that day. She knows the truth. Hence why she probably wanted to buy.
Does Lady True hold a grudge against the blue dude named Dr. Manhattan? Because if he solely won the Vietnam War for the U.S., that means he did something that probably took out a majority of her people. Like the people before it became a state in this dimension.
That's the thing, I don't know. Is she doing it as a revenge? Is she doing it to extend what Adrian Veidt wanted originally? Is it a parallel move? Is it like an Adrian Veidt move, or is it something different? It kind of seems like she's setting it up to be something like that, but... Or the show's wanting us to think it's going to be like another Adrian Veidt movie. She says she's going to save the world. That's what Ozymandias said he was doing too. But he did something fucking crazy. He released an interdimensional psychic
he says it and he's just crazy big choppers. And then she says it and it's like she's got a vendetta or something. It just feels that way.
Yeah, it definitely feels a little more dark. Either she doesn't truly believe that she's doing good, or she's using that as an excuse.
Or she's being overly protective of the big plans, and only her and Will and a select few people know.
But Will is connected too, remember? So there's something
time.
Definitely.
Big time.
So who knows, guys? And are any of them going to be connected to Dr. Manhattan? Are we going to see Dr. Manhattan? Probably. There's only 3 episodes left, though, of this season. That means episodes 7, 8, and 9, and we're done. It's going to wrap up in those 3 episodes. What's going to happen? Well, let's discuss down below, guys. Give us a like. We appreciate it. Thanks for checking out PanNerdia and our review of HBO's Watchmen, episode 6 that is. And we'll see you guys next week for the review of episode 7 here on PanNerdia. Any other final thoughts, Pete, before we get out of here?
Only one. Enjoy the enjoyment.
Always.